Hey everybody, this is my Dwarf pea puffer tank, and I just fed it, so we should hopefully have a little bit to watch here as the pea puffers find their little bits of food. I accidentally poured a little more in than I'd like to. You see all those little red squiggly things on the bottom there, those are all the bloodworms that I fed them. And honestly, right now, everybody's a little freaked out because I just did a big water change and I had my hands in there, wiping the glass down. I'm currently treating this tank for the blue-green slime cyanobacteria. And I did a full cycle of treatment. And then after that cycle of treatment, man, these things are so hard to see when they don't want to be seen. I've got 3 of them in here, if you're not familiar with this tank. And again, even just being a 10-gallon tank, these things are so tiny that if they want to just sit still and hide, you really can't even see them. You know, that one's sitting right down there on the bottom. My phone doesn't even know what to focus on. So I did a treatment, and then I did a second treatment because I still had some very clearly green cyanobacteria. A lot of what was in there you could tell had died off and was just sort of the remnants of the dead cyanobacteria, but there was clearly some stuff in there that was still green, and so I did a secondary treatment, and today marked the end of the secondary treatment. So I got in there, I did another big water change, and this time I went in and actually wiped the glass down, and I wiped away some of the green slime that was still in there. It was down in this corner, and it was still green after the second treatment. So I wiped this whole panel down. You can see I didn't do a completely thorough job, but I got a lot of the stuff off of this panel. So where I sit, I can now actually look into this end of the tank a little more easily, which makes it a little nicer for me. But I also physically removed a lot of the stuff that was still in there. So whether it was dead or not, I don't know. But I had just enough of the treatment left to do one more dose in a 10-gallon tank. And since I don't really have any other 10-gallon tanks where that would be an issue, there was no point in saving it unless I wanted to do a single dose treatment at some point in the future on this tank. If that's the case, I'll just buy another batch of it. So I just used up the final little bit of it here today, and I'm going to do one final course for 2 days of the blue-green slime stain remover from Ultralife. I think the next time I treat for cyanobacteria, and there will be a next time, don't worry about that. I think I'm going to go with the antibiotics next time. I've had a lot of people recommend it and suggest it. I've never tried it. I've always been under the impression that the antibiotics would kill off my nitrifying bacteria. I've been informed that it doesn't. It's got to do with the difference between gram-negative and gram-positive, and I'm not going to pretend I understand what that difference actually is, but apparently it's the type that doesn't kill the type of bacteria that is my nitrogen cycle, so it's safe to use without harming your cycle. And had I known that, I probably would have tried to use it before. So now that I do know that, I will look into it a little more. I'll do some more research just to double check and make sure that that is indeed the case. And if it is confirmed, then I probably will try my next treatment with the I always want to say it's amoxicillin, but I believe it's erythromycin. It's one of those. Again, I'll look into it. I'm not just going to grab some pills off the shelf and crush them up and pour them into my tank. I'll get the right stuff when I get to that venture, but not right now. This one is kind of weird. Out of all the 3 pea puffers in this tank, this one never really seems to get a full round belly. See how fat that one is? The other one looks very similar, nice rounded out full belly, and today is the first day they've eaten since the day before yesterday. So the rounded ones are still nice and plump and look good and healthy, but that third one almost always has a somewhat sunken belly. If not sunken, it's flat, even after eating, even after I fed the tank. And we can see now it's just swimming around with the worm hanging out of its mouth. I'm not really sure why it's not going to continue eating it. So I don't know if there's something wrong with this fish. I don't know if it's got some sort of internal parasite. If it is, it's been living with it for a very long time and apparently has not passed the parasite on to anybody else in the tank for all the months and months that they've been living in here together. So I'm not really sure what to make of that one, but he seems to be doing okay. He acts perfectly normal. He's clearly not a dominant force in the tank. He gets bullied around a little bit, but that just could be it. He could be the runt. You know, it could be as simple as that. It does concern me though, because you really don't ever want to see a sunken belly on a puffer. You don't necessarily want to see him all blown up and fat like my butterbean downstairs is. I mean, he looks like a little golf ball swimming around all the time, and that's because I spoil him. And if you look, honestly, these guys are fat and plump all the time too. Even when I don't feed them a whole lot, they still have nice round bellies because I like my fish to be nice and healthy. But there is a limit, and with all puffers, you have to be careful. A puffer is an elastic fish. They basically can eat until they die. They can literally overeat themselves to death. So you have to be careful with them and not overfeed them. They will just expand and expand and expand as they keep eating food. So again, I'm a little heavy-handed tonight. That's more than I usually put in there. I normally put about, I don't know, enough for each puffer to have maybe 3 to 5 little worms or something like that. And then, of course, I just pour them in and I let them compete over it. And I let them swirl around and get, caught up in all the little nooks and crannies. And it gives the fish something to do for the rest of the evening. They can swim around the tank and poke into all the little corners and look for anything they missed. Tonight, as I keep saying, it just sort of poured in and they all just kind of went into the bottom in a pile there. So they basically just got a big old pile of food to dig through for the rest of the evening. So there you go. Make sure you're subscribed. I will be doing updates here. I'm going to, wrap this treatment up here pretty soon. I normally don't have bubbles running in my tanks, but I do right now because we're running the treatment, and you have to run the air stone for the treatment. So when the treatment's finally done, I'll get in here, I'll do one more water change, I'll wipe the glass down a little more, we'll get the air stone out of there, and we'll be able to see how pretty this tank looks when it's all finished up. So again, if you're subscribed, you won't miss any of that. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget, this is my pea puffer tank. Not to be confused with my brackish tank downstairs that holds my figure 8 puffer. So thanks again. I'll see you real soon in the next one.